Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for joining us for this month's West Valley is Open for Business tour. We launched this series back in April as kind of a response to COVID, making sure that we're bringing some great news and great information to folks, even though, we're in this environment. However, this is going to be a permanent program, or this is now a permanent program where we'll be doing these every single month, and we'll be able to bring projects to you all in case you're busy and you can't make it out. So just our lineup today, we have our moderator is Mike Hoover. He is with the City of Surprise, and he is the co-chair of our Economic Development Committee at Westmark. So excited to always have Mike moderate this for us. We have two great companies that we'll be bringing you information on today. One is in Phoenix, Aldea, and the other one, oh, look at that. We have two, Park Aldea. We have two A companies, and then the other one is the Alamar housing project in Avondale. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Mike, to kick things off with the panelists.
Thank you, Centra. Happy close to end of summer and hopefully the end of all the heat that we've been dealing with. But we really have this is my first pun of the day, some really hot projects that we're excited to talk about. So I've been with the City of Surprise for 12 years. I've been fortunate to be a part of the Westmark Economic Development Committee for 10 years. And there's something I noticed in the last maybe 18 months, walking around City Hall and listening to the conversations that happen at the various levels in the organization. And I'm seeing a shift in priorities, a shift in the quality of conversation that we're having about projects and the way that we're pursuing those projects. And I don't think it's unique to the City of Surprise. And what I'm really excited about is we have two very different projects, but both of them speak to that quality that we're seeing come into the West Valley. And I think it's because the West Valley, while it's been growing for the last 15 years, it's hitting a critical point of new projects that are able to come into the communities and be successful and really represent what the future of the West Valley is all about. And so with that, I'm really excited to talk about the first project today, which is Alamar. My good friends and colleagues in the city of Avondale are very fortunate to have this project. And I wanted to introduce Roger and Geraldine, and really just welcome you to the broadcast today, but also thank you for all the work that you're doing in the West Valley, specifically in the city of Avondale.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. My name is Roger Tice with Brookfield Properties, and we are a master plan developer across the US and Canada. We have offices in both countries, and we specialize in the master plan development realm. And we're really excited with our latest offering here in the West Valley, Alamar. Geraldine?
Hi, so welcome everyone again. As Roger said, we are used to doing this. Our team has worked extensively throughout the Valley, also in the West Valley for many years. So it's always exciting to bring a big community to the greater Phoenix marketplace. And here we go again.
All right, we'll get into the slides. There we go. So the location, where is Alamar? So Alamar is kind of where the Agua Fria and the Salt and the Gila all come together, where those three rivers do. So we're about 3 miles south of the I-10. On the east side of the project is Avondale Boulevard, and along the west side of the project is Dysart Road. So it's about 2 miles wide, and we're about 3 miles south of the I-10. It's a quick connection up to the I-10 and back into town. One thing we're really excited of is in the future is the future State Route 30 that's going to come along the south side of the project. That's going to be a direct connection west over to Cotton Lane and ultimately to the SR85 and then over to the newly completed Loop 202 that goes around South Mountain. So you'll be able to get over to the east side of town in a snap when that's completed. So we are really excited about that.
So why here, why now? As Roger mentioned, we're located in the West Valley, and as Mike alluded to, in the early 2000s, I mean, there was a lot of boom going on in the West Valley. You had a lot of investment, a lot of growth. You had the master plan committees such as Verado and Estancia come to light. Great foundation and a lot of good back work for jobs and expanding transportation. So here we are, jump fast forward past the recession, and you're looking at all the reasons that the West Valley is still very desirable. Jobs are still plentiful. You've got large companies that are coming and relocating. You've got the transportation corridors continue to expand. And then, we've got great partnerships within the West Valley leadership and municipalities. I mean, everyone is continuing to invest to seek out economic growth. And, as all indicators, there's a great demand for housing to support the jobs and to support people who are moving around or relocating within the area. So we feel that at this point, land is plentiful. It's the right time again to reintroduce the new modern master plan communities throughout the West Valley. And, this is in the demand for housing, and in communities, there's such a need for amenitized, new, I guess, connected ways of living. And that's what we're looking to bring to Alamar. Next slide. So target audiences, and keep in mind when this data was pulled, when we looked at the propensity for what would our future buyers at Alamar be like. This was reflecting of 2018. We were focusing on our research took us into the 15-mile radius. And if you look right there, the numbers are really quite supportive when you're trying to identify the buyers in quantity, the buyers with the propensity to not only move around, but also afford the types of housing that we look to bring to Alamar with our guest builders there. So as you can see, the numbers support a lot of good opportunity with incomes going up, with a good solid renter base, and then also home values. Again, this is 2 years ago, so I'm assuming that data has been slightly ticking up a bit in this last 18 months. But the ability for people to find the home they want, to stay within the area, to be able to afford a great home in a master plan community that has a value is what we saw a lot of good potential with. Next slide. So again, we did some demographic research, and this is looking at psychographics and sociographics. From a geographic standpoint, we feel that the West Valley will move around within the West Valley. We have targeted a little bit in California. We've seen an influx of people, whether they have business opportunities, or family here. We think there's a nice draw, and so some of our advertising has pushed into those marketplaces. For demographics, we don't think commuting is an issue. There's highways, there's great infrastructure there, so that the driving distance to get to a quality home, whether you're working across in Phoenix Marketplace, it still shows that there's a lot of good value within the West Valley for housing at affordable prices. And so also we're looking at, whether you're employed within the West Valley or spreading out of that 15-mile radius, you're still in key sectors that we've identified: education, manufacturing, management. There's a lot of that supporting the West Valley as far as families who want to be located within Avondale or the West Valley. Socioeconomics, our research showed us that many of these upwardly mobile couples are continuing to come into the area. And then a lot of growing move-up families that are expanding and now able to afford a little more housing for their third child, or their mother-in-law that's moving in with them. And finally, when you're looking at the psychographics, quality and family values are still very important, as well as social connectivity, and then celebrating traditions. So we kept all that in mind when we were looking at the vision for Alamar. Next slide. So the vision, it's really a true destination for Avondale, and we're looking at a community where that pays homage to the area, as well as the traditions of the West Valley, and then elevates the experience for not only the community of Avondale, community of Alamar, but the extenuated community throughout Avondale and extended communities throughout the Western Valley. Next slide. So great placemaking. Our team, as I mentioned, we focused on legacy communities, particularly those in the West Valley. We've done work before with Verrado, Marley Park, and on the east side with Eastmark. But we do this by looking at a community that will live well for decades and even for generations to come. So our team invests highly in the partners that are also surrounding us, whether it's the city, businesses. We get engaged with the local economic development partners. We're looking at ways to just support the greater community, as I mentioned. And then within the community itself, we look at the needs of the residents and how can they support being connected with each other. We don't typically have an HOA team. We have what's called a community life team. And these guys really work with our residents to bring them together, to show them how they can invest and take care of not only their community, but the greater community as well. So for example, they may form something called Alamar Leadership, which is an education program where we take about 20 residents a year and show them, how does your city council work? How does your, fire department and your, municipality resources work? How does this all go into supporting the greater community that will affect you and your families down the road? So that's just one way we look at and how we approach placemaking within a master plan community. Next slide.
So we always like to give a nod to the history of a site, and Carolyn mentioned we pay homage to that. So, what was this site before? And it kind of had a couple names before. It's Alamar. It was Lake and Ranch at one time, or the Lake and Property. And it's 1,130 acres, and it's predominantly farmed with Bermuda grass and hay right now and corn. But before that, there was a short stint when it was ranching and had some horses on it. And since the 70s, it's been used for that. And the Lakin family actually kind of created the gold standard out there for horse pellets, kind of the supplemental food you can feed your horses. And they used the Bermuda hay and the pelletizing of those, and kind of became the gold standard before that recently changed hands. And so now, as we develop Alamar at 1,130 acres, you're just going to develop small 100 to 150 acre pieces a year. So we try to actively farm as much of that land as we can that's remaining. It creates a great wide open space and a great green area around it, and it just allows that operation to kind of do its thing as that just kind of slowly gets phased out. So we have a slight nod in our design of Alamar and our marketing of Alamar to that agrarian heritage.
Speaking of horses, so the Alamar knot and the name originates from, it's a symbolic knot that are worn by horses after extensive training, and at which point they reach a final bridle horse. It's an honor to wear this knot within your, you can see at the bottom left-hand corner what that looks like. But again, this is just an honor and a nod to our agrarian heritage from the West Valley. And it's something that we like to work into our story so that there's some meaning and some historical value to the name and the logo. Next slide.
So here's a little zoomed in version of Alamar and the 1,130 acres. Open space is a huge component, and we talk a lot about connectivity and trying to create a place that people like to call home. And how do you connect everything like that? So in the light green areas on the slide that kind of go from left to right across the screen, those are utility easement corridors that we've repurposed to make sure that we have trails, and we're going to have over 9.5 miles of trails within Alamar that kind of go through those green spaces, go along streets, kind of connect all the key components that we have out there in terms of amenity spaces. The darker green area is a park that we've been working on for about 1.5 years with the city of Avondale. So we partnered with them, and this is going to be their next city park that they have, and it's over 40 acres in size. And we're getting close to starting construction on it in the fourth quarter of this year. And we'll have that complete by the summer of 2022. So we're excited for that. We've worked hand in hand. We have a slide here and a couple that we'll see a little more detail on that. But that park component then ties into a wonderful component that we have, where we have our first 4-acre community park within Alamar for the residents, and a future K-8 elementary school with the Littleton School District. So we have over 180 acres of open space that we're trying to engage and make as active as we can, so residents get to enjoy it.
So at a quick glance here, what you're basically seeing is just by the numbers, but it really reinforces what Roger just told you about the abundance of parks and open spaces and our dedication to that within the community. We'll also have some commercial space, some civic space, and all of these things work together really well. Next slide.
So this is the city park that we've been working on, and you'll see a lot of components that you may see in other parks. it wasn't intended to be a full-on multi-field sports park. So we looked at kind of complementing what the assets that Avondale already had in their parks and trying to create some new ones that we could as well. So you'll see ball fields, a multi-use sports field, pickleball, basketball, tennis courts. We have a nice splash pad that we affectionately call the Kitty Car Wash. It's going to be kind of a little serpentine car wash that'll have jets squirting up all over, and should be quite an experience. And we can't wait to see that when it's finished off. There'll be an 3-acre urban fishing lake, and one component that we have just off the east side of the lake is an amphitheater, and it's a 4-sided amphitheater. So off the bottom and south and west sides, you can have a smaller, more intimate type of setup and presentation at the amphitheater or concert. And then as it gets to be bigger, we have a main event lawn on the north side, and then a really large event off the east side could go off there. So we have a 4-sided amphitheater, and excited the events that Avondale gets to plan on that and use for that park. And then another component is Avondale went out and got a grant for a fitness court. It's a 35 by 35 fitness court that just uses body weight and other type movements. And it's kind of new to the valley. I think one of them just opened up on the east side of town. So it's a thing to get people out and active. And then down through the center, between the ball fields and down through the centers, we've taken some time to take a concrete and a gravel path and kind of wind and weave those back and forth. We call it the Hello Walk. So those folks that like to get out and walk in the morning, you can weave back and forth and now see the same people and say hello and kind of get out and engage with each other. And it's going to be a really nice complement to that. So as we get into then HOA components, this is our first 4-acre community park within the development, and this will be complete at our grand opening in October. And it houses our private fenced-in pool that we have for the residents of Alamar, and that's complemented with stuff outside the fence with a playground area. We have an area for a soccer field and a sporting and event lawn area, and there's a basketball court, and there's bathrooms at this facility. And this is our first HOA facility, and we're excited that that's going to be open and fully functional for the grand opening. In the lower left-hand corner is a picture of the pool, and we strategically oriented the pool so that it frames a beautiful picture of the Sierra Estrellas just to the south, because they're only about 3 miles to the south of Alamar, and they're very prominent when you get out there to the site. Should be advancing. There we go. So our neighborhood parks. The neighborhood parks, and I'll just go to the next slide, and shows a picture of our neighborhood parks. So our neighborhood parks are the ones that are tucked in next to the lots. And a lot of times those parks may be part of a bigger area where most of it is set down in a retention basin. We made a concerted effort to make sure that ours were up at the lot level and the street level. So they're 100% usable, 100% outside of any stormwater storage. And we really actively engage these parks. In the middle of the park is a typical shade structure that we have at our park, and that is about 3 times the size of a normal shade structure you would see in a park. Just by chance with COVID going on, that allows people to be spaced out a little more underneath there. But you could also then have quite a few people under a 20 by 60 shade shelter. And then we actively engage and program these parks based on what is next to them. So the first phase of Alamar is 461 lots, and there's 4 different lot sizes, and each of those lot sizes may have a different buyer profile. So the smaller lots may have younger kids, kind of the first-time home buyer. So the park next to those lots would be geared towards younger kids. So it'd have more creative play ideas and play structures appropriate for the age group. This one in particular here is next to our largest lots. So this is likely a second-time home buyer, move-up home buyer. Kids may be older, so there's not as many of those younger kid type of activities, but there still is play structures and everything kind of geared to all ages. This one has a fire pit in it, for instance, because there's more of a gathering concept with this one.
Quick note on our builders. So we've worked with, these are the quality builders that we've worked successfully with in our other communities. And you may recognize some of these guys. They're known for building strong products that are very popular within our marketplace. Capital West Homes may be new to you, but they are formerly Pinnacle West Homes, who we've worked with in our other communities. They were recently acquired by Land City, but the same group has come back around again as Capital West Homes. So these are all known players who really deliver great products. I think the homes will be starting in the 1,700 to 3,500 square foot and in the high 200s. Next slide.
So this is kind of what it looks like today. This is a snapshot from the beginning of August. And of course, things move pretty quick when you get all the underground work done and you start finishing what's above ground, things move fast. So it looks quite different than this already. A lot more is landscape, but this is a picture of our first phase. It's 130 acres, 461 lots. And where I'm hovering my hand is kind of the first entry into the phase one. And there's 5 of our builders at different stages of their model home construction. So you can see those, some of them have roofs, some of them are still in the frame up stage. And then we have our 6th builder over here on our larger lots. So all 6 of our builders are actively completing their models, and they will be ready to go for our grand opening event in October. And then you can start to see the 4-acre community park with our pool facility in it that will be completed for the grand opening as well. And we'll keep working through every year, about 300 to 400 lots, and keep doing the next phase of development. And you can see all the farm fields around it that are in one stage or another of kind of a crop rotation and working through it. Now we have a few other slides. One component that Geralyn's going to talk about in a minute is art. So we have an art component in each of our parks that are within the neighborhoods. This one here, just the artist took a section of concrete pipe. It's deceptive. It's quite large. It's 11-foot diameter pipe, and turning that into kind of an art component. Put a seat inside, and there'll be a projector that shines up on the inside, and we're excited for that. There's an active shot of the pool with the rebar and plumbing. So the pool and the buildings around the pool are coming along nicely. In the lower left-hand side is a model home by one of our builders. If you've driven down Avondale Boulevard off the I-10 in the last week, you'll see 2 signs that we worked hand in hand with the City of Avondale on. One of them is about a half mile south of the 10, and the other one is down at Lower Buckeye and Avondale Boulevard, directing you down to the development. In the lower right-hand corner, within 2 weeks, this will look quite a bit different. This is going to be completed in our entry monument, and we're excited what that's going to look like. But it's just a little sneak peek of our entry monument feature. So one thing we like to do is, Geralyn talked about partnering with all the constituents that we might have our community around. And one of those is our school districts. We are within the Littleton Elementary School District, and we are going to be donating 21 acres to them to build their next K-8 elementary school. So when we decide to do that, we then also look and partner with them to figure out, is there ways that we can enhance the education that's within the district. It would be quite unfair if we were to come in and just put a bunch of money towards the school that's within Alamar, because then it just does not create a level playing field amongst other schools within the district. So we work with them to look at enhancements that can benefit all the students, all the families, and all the schools that are within a district. And this is a component. When we worked with Littleton, actually, there's some fields that are along the north side of the project. There's a soccer field and 2 or 3 extra baseball, softball fields that we work with them. And outside of school hours, the community gets to come in and use those for practice facilities, even have games on those. And we worked out an agreement and are a great partner in doing that. And it's right next to the community park. It's just off the west side of it. The regional park with Avondale. And there's the spillover parking ability. So if the school has an event and needs to use some parking of the park, and likewise, if the park has a big event and needs to use some parking of the school, there's that shared agreement there as well.
So the City of Avondale has dedicated a lot of time, money, and resources to having a public art program. And if you guys have been out there, you've seen some special installments. And so we are trying to carry on that tradition and introduce that to Alamar itself. So what you'll see here in the boxes, the solid boxes, are the names of 6 artists that we're working with in phase 1. Many of these guys are local, regional, national acclaimed artists. You'll see there in the images examples of some of their work that they've previously done or have been working on. So we're really proud to bring them to Avondale and to Alamar so that we can continue the education of art throughout our community and maybe overlap even with the schools or some other educational programs to explain artwork and really keep a robust, I guess, program around this. Next slide. So we launched our marketing in January, and you may have seen our ads online in the Arizona Republic. We've got a couple of billboards at I-10 just by the Avondale Boulevard exit. And I would volunteer you to check out our website, take a look at what's on there. We're adding new information daily as it comes, especially more information about our builders. And finally, the slide I forgot, but I wouldn't be in marketing if I didn't ask you to please get ready to come out for our grand opening. It's October 10th and 11th, that first weekend. And then every weekend in October, we'll have some sort of programming at Alamar in celebration of our grand opening. This, because of our very unusual climate, is not going to be a come out and just take over the community. It's going to be an edited guided driving tour, where we'll have the FM radio give you some, pretty much orient you to where you are as you move through a very guided tour of the community. We'll have signage, we'll have the ability to get out and tour some builders. Other builders may have by appointment only, but we're really excited to really kick things off in a big way in that first October 10th weekend. And I think some of our builders are even looking at bringing their products to sale prior to that. So we're moving fast and we're trying to keep up, but thank you.
Carolyn, Roger, thank you. A couple quick questions. How long has this project been in contemplation? When did you begin in earnest on the analysis? And obviously this is potentially months, if not years of preparation.
Yeah, so we started first looking at this property back in 2017. And at that time, we weren't the first ones to look at it. I would say for almost the better part of 20 years, it had been looked at on and off by various folks. And this time just wasn't right. And now the time is perfect for this. And we kind of figured out the puzzle pieces that were there and were able to put them together and put a deal together. And a lot of that was working with the seller. A lot of that was working with the city of Avondale on a development agreement and just coming to an understanding of what it's going to take to bring this project forward.
So this project's coming forward in 2020, but going back maybe 10, 15 years, looking at Verrado, Eastmark, and Marley Park, how have your approaches towards community development, this is community development in my mind, but master plan communities, how has that changed? How has the customers' wants and desires changed, and also your approach?
I would say that, in years past, there was a very heavy emphasis on the amenities, and they were the typical checklist of a clubhouse, a pool. We want to have a fitness center, and these are the things that were typically offered in a master plan community, and that was wonderful. But to some degree, the sustainability and the dues and the costs that the residents have to incur do go up. And so we were looking at, I think the wave in the last several years has been looking at connectivity through outdoor spaces, enough room to roam, enough ways to engage with your neighbors, but also appreciate nature and the outdoors. So I think parks are playing a big part in what we're seeing as a trend, but a trend that's sustainable for the long term.
Well, one of the interesting things that I picked up in your presentation is you're creating a very special place for that resident. So kind of looking towards the inside, but then certain parts of your project, you're very intentionally connecting to the outside, whether it be the city, the school district. I love the comments about not just investing in the school that's going into this community, but that the school district has other needs, and there's a desire to help with that. I found it very interesting because they seem like they're competing forces, but it doesn't seem like you present them that way. You present them as a holistic approach.
We've worked with what we call public and private spaces within our community. So a perfect example, and Roger can talk about it, is the regional park. The regional park is going to be one and all for not just Avondale or Alamar, but for the entire West Valley or people who are visiting. We look at our community parks, and those are both public and private spaces blended together, as well as what Roger had described to us in the school, where the ball fields are accessible by others. So there's, it may seem scary, but we successfully have done it before, where you've got residents blending with visitors, and it just builds more of a, the residents are proud of their community and they want to show it off and bring others there. So there's opportunities to bring everyone into the community.
Yeah, then you have people that live outside the community actually promoting that project, even though they may not have a house inside of it.
That's not a problem.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Is there any other questions on the from the group? I wanted to provide some time for some conversation, but I was really taken by the inside-outside approach of kind of how the project is coming together. So I really appreciate that. I think we're good on the chat for now. I want to thank you again for your time. I'm excited about October. Hopefully, again, the temperature will drop and those guided tours will be in a cool environment, even though they're in their car. And thank you again. And I think we're also going to be able to share some of this information in the next day or two with any people watching the broadcast if they want to see some of the information and also your contact information as well.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're going to be queuing up the second presentation for something that's really, really great. So we had the City of Avondale, this banner project that we just discussed, and what I like seeing is in the newspaper, our good friends in the City of Phoenix. Oh, we have always forget about the quick poll. All right. All right, so again, I'm really excited because I think what's been exciting for us is people think of the City of Phoenix as being Central Phoenix, and the reality is that Phoenix serves a great role in the East Valley, a great role in Central Phoenix, but a great role in the West Valley as well. And the engagement that our friends and colleagues have had in Phoenix and with their development partners, bringing new energy, new investment into the West Valley. This is something I'm really excited about as someone who believes that a strong Westmark, a strong West Valley begins with your biggest champion being successful in the West Valley, and that's the City of Phoenix and their partners. So I wanted to just take a minute and introduce my colleague Nathan. I think Nathan's going to kind of kick off the conversation. And then Ryan Norris with Trammell Crow is going to talk about a wonderful project that is going to bring not only the investment into the community, but really a lot of the jobs that we're looking for as well. So Nathan, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
I think were we going to have Hayden do a quick intro?
Oh, yes.
Well, hi, I'm Christian. I have the esteemed pleasure of being a longtime member of Westmark and working with Mike Hoover and of course Ryan with Trammell Crow, and Hayden has been a longtime builder in Arizona since 1992, employing over 500 people, and being a partner in the West Valley, building everything from parks like Peoria's Rio Vista to healthcare, commercial, heavy civil projects, and industrial projects like Park Aldea in the City of Phoenix. So with that, I'll just kick it back over to you, Nathan.
Thanks, Christian, and thanks, Mike. We are super excited to be here talking about the West Valley and West Phoenix. And before I get into kind of some demographic and data, I wanted to just put a little plug in for the census. If you haven't done so, please do so. It's so important to our cities, to our region, And in fact, we have exciting information to share that we just passed Boston and San Francisco as a top 10 metro area in the United States. And along with that, the city of Phoenix was the only one of the top 5 most populous cities to gain more than 2,000 new residents in 2019 over 2018. So New York and Chicago lost population, and LA and Houston gained fewer than 2,000. During that time, Phoenix gained 26,500 residents. And where are they coming from? You could probably guess, number 1, California, and you could probably guess number 3, which is Illinois. But number 2 was really new to us. It was Asia. So a whole other area, part of the world. And we see this, attracting, engineers and high skilled workers from these other parts of the world coming to live in these awesome projects like Alamar and enjoy our way of life here in Arizona. During that, in 2019, Phoenix had the largest numeric increase in workforce in the United States. And we recently analyzed some data on commuting and found that over 60% of the West Valley workforce commutes to other parts of the region for work. And, that's why this is the right time and the right place for the Park Aldea project. And Hayden and Trammell Crow have done an amazing job on this project. We've seen them complete other projects like this around Phoenix. We're so excited to see this style of project land here on the 101 corridor. 28% of the region's manufacturing talent live in the West Valley. And, this is another reason why, these skilled workers are going to be lining up to live and work so close to where they are. And, it'll be leased up in very short order, I'm sure, because we're seeing historically low vacancy, nearly 3% citywide for industrial and manufacturing. So this type of spec product there will be high demand. In Phoenix Metro, we had the lowest unemployment rate of any of the top 25 metro areas in May, June, and July. So despite COVID and the challenges we've had, because we've definitely lost our share of hospitality and retail jobs, we're starting to see those come back. And in June, we saw retail jobs topping the list of new jobs for the first time since 2010. With that, Phoenix Metro gained 45,000 in advanced industry jobs between March and April. And we lost, over 200,000 in hospitality and retail. But to see such a strong growth in advanced industries, that means bioscience, healthcare, business, finance, technology, and manufacturing, which kind of brings us to this amazing project, Park Aldea. And with that, I want to just turn the time over to Ryan to talk about that.
Great, thank you, Nathan, and happy to be a partner with the City of Phoenix on this one as well. I'm Ryan Norris with Trammell Crow. I work primarily in our industrial division, overseeing a couple projects in the Valley, including Park Aldea, which we're going to talk about today. Just quick background about Trammell Crow. We have now been the nation's #1 developer by size, both square footage and dollar value, for I believe 5 years now. We have 18 different business units across the US and UK, and we are really a local boots on the ground based company. I sit here in Phoenix along with 9 others, and we are tasked with finding development opportunities in Arizona. So we do take a boots on the ground approach. Thinks that's really the only way to be successful in kind of working with communities. So excited about the opportunity to speak with the Westmark Group today as well. Park Aldea, 30-acre land site. We purchased it from the John F. Long family. They have the larger master plan park called Aldea Center, originally envisioned for and entitled for up to 12-story office back in 2006, 2007. After kind of developing a relationship with the family and that team, we identified this as a site that we thought was pretty logical for our next multi-tenant industrial project. We built about 1 million square feet of this product this cycle over the past 5 or 6 years, primarily up in Deer Valley, the North Phoenix area, and also out in Gilbert, Southeast Valley. And this is really a product type, as you'll see in a video that we have shortly, that really is meant to serve the local community. We certainly have had our successes in Southwest Phoenix, south of the 10, building, you know, what you would call bigger box industrial. We developed the Cons building in Avondale right off of the 10, and more recently leased the 500,000 square foot building to Amazon off the new 202 extension. Those are great projects and fit that area really well, but this is something a little bit more than that. And I'm going to attempt to talk through the video as well and just kind of try to point out a few things, but you will see kind of a focus on a higher image. This is a project that's targeting corporate headquarters, regional, local headquarters, and also has been designed to accommodate a little bit more of a manufacturing use. So really trying to capitalize on some of those things that Nathan pointed out previously. And with that, if we can roll the video. All right, I didn't want to compete with the great soundtrack of the video, so my apologies there. But four buildings, really designed to hide the truck courts. All truck courts are screened from both the adjacent canal and the roadways. You know, really fell in love with the site. Just proximity to the Valley freeways, getting on the 101 is so huge, and really keying into why this area and why industrial was in such high demand. This stretch of the 101, really from the 17 headed down to the I-10, hasn't seen a new project developed this cycle. So we wanted to find a way to take advantage of that. This is a submarket, the West Loop 101 submarket, as we refer to it, that has almost no vacancy. I believe today, if you're a 20,000 square foot tenant, the only option you really have is us or another new facility. The existing product has just been leased forever. So we feel like we've really created a project that has a higher image, that's going to, you know, be able to accommodate groups that are looking to have their corporate or regional headquarters in this location, and also took some steps to try to increase the power capacity as well. And we've seen that really work out well in attracting the manufacturing uses. So, you know, before we get to questions and answers, we just, you know, we really see this as a great project, meant to work with and within the local community, and isn't as focused on how quickly we can get product to California. This is really a project where we anticipate seeing tenants that are going to serve the local economy, and it's designed accordingly. So yeah, that'll wrap it up for me, and we can jump into anything you have, Mike.
Well, first of all, it is a beautiful project, and the soundtrack was great. I'm glad you didn't disrupt it. A couple questions. So I want to make sure I'm representing this correctly. You're looking to expand capacities for the local market or Metro Phoenix, while also being able to recruit nationally for the project. So the project is kind of filling two gaps. Would that be fair to represent?
Yeah, I think so. We tried to, for instance, some of the stuff that we would do more traditionally south of the 10 and where the bulk of the industrial product in the greater Phoenix area is located, really is going to be just distribution focused. And you really see that in kind of the tenant mix, groups that are trying to serve the larger, Western United States. This is a project in size and character that is more typical in Phoenix and more similar to what the industrial market has been historically, targeting that 20 to 50,000 square foot tenant that's going to bring jobs to the local economy, less distribution heavy, and have a little bit, we anticipate seeing things like granite showrooms here. With what's going on at Alamar, there's going to continue to be ancillary uses, door and window manufacturers that need to start locating here to just deal with the booming, residential real estate market that we're seeing today. So it is designed to accommodate those groups. And yeah, we're not going to look if a great national tenant that wants to serve the Western U.S. comes to our door, we're gonna have every ability to accommodate them as well, and we'll try to do so. But at the same time, that's not really why the project was created. It's more, more identifying a gap and being able to accommodate those more traditional local Phoenix uses. So that's how we kind of differentiate this product type from the larger, bigger blocks of space that we would develop elsewhere in the valley.
So the video did a good job talking about the nearby amenities. Can you talk a little bit about how that kind of plays into your marketing approach as well for these types of tenants?
Yeah, I think the casino is the kind of funny one, but I think what it really does more than anything is it's a proof statement. And that's huge with these, people making what could be, a pretty big decision, a real estate decision for these groups. You have groups that, for whatever reason, American Furniture Warehouse across the street, Topgolf, the Cardinals, everything that's going on at Westgate, that's identified something going on in this area with the demographics, with the income levels. And so it helps just prove that statement that, yeah, this makes sense for somebody to come locate here. We're going to get groups that are trying to serve those, those businesses as well, that are ancillary businesses. That's why we focus so much on the residential home building. That could be a very significant portion of our park, and we're seeing those uses in there today. So certainly those amenities are great. I mean, at the end of the day, is Topgolf really an amenity for an industrial user? I'm not sure, but it is more of a proof statement than anything else. And so that's kind of how we looked at that.
One of the first questions I asked Alamar was, when did this start to become on your radar, and kind of what was the process for you to begin to conceptualize this project?
So really, we just started researching, where there was a significant amount of absorption in the valley. We saw, these projects just north of us, more in the Arrowhead area, get hit really hard in the recession. And we saw how quickly it recovered, both from a rate perspective, rental rates, and then also just from available space. I mean, there was very limited space. So we started at, we more or less started in Deer Valley and started to head west on the 101. So we feel like we identified a piece of land the same way our user base is going to be identifying, you know, where they want to locate their business. Groups coming down off that 101, a decision maker who may live up in the Arrowhead area that wants to locate as close to their facility as possible, and put, you know, be a part of a little bit better business park than, you know, a professional business park as Aldea Center is envisioned, with a mix of retail, office, and industrial as well.
That's great. Is there anything as far as other community members could be doing to help support the project?
Oh, I could start handing out brochures. Anybody that wants some to hand out, I'll get them on your doorstep as soon as possible. You know, really, I see the opportunity to just keep tenants in the area along this stretch of the 101. It does provide some higher end space that hasn't been developed for this tenant size in the area. So those groups may, you know, no longer have to look to, you know, places like Gilbert that may have significant industrial land capacity, and to get that little bit higher image, higher feel. You can see what we did at some of the entryways. So I just see it as a great, you know, a great opportunity to help, you know, the businesses that you work with expand, whether you're an economic development director or involved with Westmark from a construction perspective. I mean, this is a great location for your subcontractors, groups that need to serve this stretch of the valley in new, nice space is really what I see. So yeah, if you guys want some brochures, or just go to parkaldea.com. That really, you know, covers a lot of information about the park as well.
One of the interesting things for employment projects through Westmark, and I think since Centra started, we've always said this, you know, I may fight over retail projects, but the reality is every employment project that comes to the West Valley is a benefit for the whole West Valley. And to have signature projects like this, anything we can do to support Nathan's efforts, your efforts, whether it be through Westmark or even just a phone call to one of the West Valley Economic Development Directors, whether it's information or us just lending our support, to have these types of assets that are retaining employers, attracting employers, and also bringing employment is very important. And I want you to know you have our support for that.
Great.
All right, I'm just double checking with my bosses here. Did I miss any questions? Meaning Centra in the gang.
I'll defer to KJ on that. Are there any? I can't see any in the chat, but wait, I think I do see one. Is there something in the chat box? Ryan, you brought up something that's really interesting. What we have been doing is giving companies information on the community, much like you did in your video. And when you brought up sharing the brochures, I thought the opposite. You know, all of a sudden, you know, maybe Roger and Carolyn, we need to be getting you some of that information to put on your website. So when folks come to look at homes, they can see employment opportunities within that area. A lot of times, you know, the West Valley gets the rap of, well, you know, you're going to have to commute for work. And we're seeing that trend is really reversing quickly as more companies are attracted to this area. So I think what I took away from this discussion was kind of the two-way partnership here that we have with housing as well as employment opportunities.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very accurate. And just to add to that, I think, you know, in covering some of what Mike said, you know, activity breeds more activity. I don't see this area as too dissimilar from areas like Pima Center, you know, out by Talking Stick, where you did have a little bit more of an industrial trend, but what those industrial groups started seeing was more and more office uses coming in there, and that's the spectrum. this. I mean, I know this is, you know, everyone would love to see those 12, 14, 15-story offices being built along the line, and just, you know, from a speculative perspective, not possible, but it does help to bring businesses to the area. And as those businesses start to expand, I think you're going to start seeing those higher uses as well. So yeah, no, I totally agree with all of that.
Hey, this is KJ. We do have a question in the question box from Katie Rowe with Upper West Side Phoenix. Hi, Katie. I'll just read the question for you, Mike. Is there any industrial or manufacturing development projects planned for further north along the 101 or 303 in the far northwest Peoria and Glendale, Vistancia commercial core?
Is that for, I can answer part of that. I know Amazon is in the Surprise area. You know, that's a new development. And I know that the Skyway Business Park has had some success along the Northern Parkway as well. And all that success we're starting to benefit from, as well as just more groups locate here. I don't think you get any new development once you get north of Glendale Airport. I know that there's a new industrial development. I know there's a development underway on Glendale and one within the Glendale Airport area, both LGE Creation and then the Mac Company doing those projects. And I think the stuff that you're going to see along the 303, at least today, is more geared towards those larger 200,000+ square foot uses that you know, we are now seeing along the 303, but more traditionally saw south of the I-10 freeway. And I would just add, I think you're seeing that, you know, this stretch of the 101 where you would see that type of development in Peoria and other areas. You just don't have the land entitlements in order to do industrial, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So I would guess that this stretch of the 101 is pretty supply constrained as it comes to industrial product.
Great.
Which then I would argue helps push up the quality, similar to what your project is doing. So
it certainly helps us achieve a higher rental rate in order to deal with some of the added costs of making the development fit better in I think a higher end, more residential area. So definitely.
all right, thank you, KJ. We do want to end on time. Sintra, is there anything I need to do to finish this out before we say thank you to our panelists today?
We have one last poll question.
All right, so we got some good awareness out there today for you, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you.
I do want to thank all of our wonderful panelists. Did a great job, not only representing their projects, but representing, you know, the value and the quality that's coming into our communities and making this such a special place. Sintra, I'll kind of leave it to you for the final goodbye, but I just want to thank everybody for talking about two very different projects that are trying to achieve the same goal for our communities.
Thanks, Mike. I think they're two very different projects that really intersect and help each other out as we kind of made that connection. So, you know, one of the things that the reason that we did this is to create awareness to these projects. And I think as we've seen with both poll questions for both projects, we heard more, no, I was not aware of this project until today. And so that really is the purpose, and it validates this program. And I encourage you to continue bringing projects to this program. Share it with your colleagues and let them know that this is an opportunity available through Westmark for Westmark members. So we appreciate that. And I'll say, Geraldine said it best. She said, you don't have to live here, but talk about it. And I completely agree with that. And, you know, most people know I keep pushing the line on where the West Valley is and bringing more folks into it, because it's not about living here necessarily. That's great. It's about talking about the tremendous things that's happening in the West Valley. And I really think that that's bringing greater awareness to us. So with that, next month, we have 2 projects coming up that will be focused in the Buckeye region, Buckeye being the fastest growing city in the country, I think. And so we'll be focusing on healthcare projects as well as retail projects. And KJ, do you have the date for that handy? I think it's the 20th, but I'm not positive. No, it's the 17th. Okay, don't quote me. We'll get that information out to you. Just look out for the invitation. And I appreciate everyone this afternoon. And Mike, always, you're a rock star. So appreciate everything.
Thank you. Ryan, Geraldine, Christian, Roger, and Nathan, thank you so much. Really appreciate all your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.